Hey everybody, it's Peter B, and welcome to another edition of Tobacco Card Tuesday. I actually started to record this video outside on my deck, but halfway through my phone shut down saying that it was too hot. It's very sunny out there. Not a cloud in the sky, no wind, but very hot. So I had to move back in and start over. So here we go. This is my Not Going to the Nationals pickup number 3, the final edition. And these cards, while you guys were at the National, I ordered them. And I got them last week and early this week. So let's go through them. The first one is a 1921 W516-2-1. They're strip cards. This happens to be Hall of Famer Eddie Rausch. And I did not have a card of him. So now I get to check that box off of another pre-war Hall of Famer that I'm trying to get at least one of each. These are blank backs like most strip cards. And the -2-1 has a backward image. The regular card would be the same way, just flipped around. You can see on his uniform, the C in Cincinnati is backwards, and the R and the REDS is spelled backwards. I like this one because it's kind of cool because it not only is a complete image of his card, but also of the card above him, which looks like also happens to be Eddie Rausch. You can see the card number 22 and the position he played, just like at the bottom. So Eddie Rausch strip card, and it adds to my collection of pre-war Hall of Famers. Okay, while you guys were at the National, I read a book, and it's Gentleman Jake by Harry Dietz. Story of Jake Daubert. He played for Brooklyn most of his playing days and later played for the Cincinnati Reds. He was involved in 2 World Series, one with Brooklyn and one with the 1919 Cincinnati Reds. And the title of the book, Gentleman Jake, really describes his personality. He was a very nice man, grew up in a coal mining town in Pennsylvania, always went back and gave money to his town and always supported people in his town. Did everything by the book. And he also happens to be the best dead ball era first baseman. And maybe he should be considered for the Hall of Fame. He played in the National League his whole career, so he's definitely the best National League dead ball first baseman. There was a very good American League first baseman, name escapes me at the moment, but he was a crook and a gambler and threw games, and he was also a very good hitter, good fielder though, but he was a bit of a jerk, where Gentleman Jake was truly a gentleman. High batting average and a real good glove at first base. So I read that when you guys were at the National. And if anyone who watched my videos before, buying a new book is an excuse to buy a bookmark. I always try to make it part of the subject I'm reading. So this was my bookmark. It's a 1913 National game card of Jake Daubert. And I guess this would be the front of the card, because you're not allowed to see what the result. And then you flip it over and you would get a fallout, or I assume that means 1 base hit. So 1913 National, Jake Daubert. And just so happens, I always wanted this card, but one came up at a good price while you guys are at the National. And so this person didn't go to the National. But it's a Jake Daubert Crackerjack card. And you see the caramel stains, which is totally fine with me. Actually, I kind of prefer it. This is one of the 1915s that were inside a box of Crackerjack. Flip it over, we're upside down, so that means it is a 1915 as opposed to a 1914. So I always wanted this card, real good price, right when I was reading about Jake Daubert, so I had to pull the trigger on this. Add this to my Crackerjack collection. Now, I like big cats, leopards, jaguars, tigers, and I bought this 1890 K1 Arbuckle coffee card. And this is of a leopard. Beautiful card, just has a little paper loss in front. And the back of the card has a little writing, but who cares? And this is from the Arbuckle Natural History Collection. So there's the leopard. And I also got the jaguar. And I also got one more that I think is in the mail today to me, and that is the tiger. Now, I showed you, I think last video, some 1888 Allen and Ginter fish cards, and you can send away for an album. But it was the same way with these Arbuckle cards, so I got the album. It's the Arbuckle's album of illustrated natural history. Beautiful artwork. It's the same image as the cards, and a matter of fact, it's the same size as the cards. Has this beautiful illustration, lithograph illustration, and then tells about the animal. So there's my leopard card. Beautiful. Not only the cards, but the backgrounds. Water lilies on the bottom. There's my jaguar card in the middle. Beautiful, beautiful album. Much better in person than probably what you're seeing on my phone. There's a lion, gorilla, elephants, and there's that tiger card, which I think is coming in the mail today. Those are the 3 cards I got. And then it tells about Arbuckle. A beautiful album to go along with the cards. Now I also got some, my opinion, modern cards, but they're not really modern cards. I guess you guys would call them vintage. I got Fork and Knuckler, Face and Wilhelm. And notice it's a buyback card. So this will go into my buyback Frankenset binder. Hoyt Wilhelm is a Hall of Famer. And I'm a master George Brett collector. Not as much as Wade Boggs fan, but when I first started, I was also. I got all his playing day cards, except for one, and I finally got it. And I know it's a one, but I made it affordable. Plus, I'm going to break it out of its case and put it in my binder. I had an open spot for many, many years right next to the Topps George Brett rookie card. And on the other side, it would be the Topps mini George Brett rookie card. And that open spot in the binder is right between. And this is in OPG. A little bit brighter colors. And you can see made in Canada. Or whatever it says. OPG or printed in Canada. So an OPG George Brett rookie. And I don't care that it's a one. It goes into my binder filling that slot that's been empty for many, many, many years. Now, there is no baseball card shops near me. There's one like 40 miles in one direction and one 40 miles in a different direction. And yesterday I had a job in a town not too far away from one of the baseball card shops. So I stopped in and picked up a card. But first I want to tell you the sadness of America these days. It was located in a mall. Now this mall used to be thriving. I know for a fact 10 years ago. Many people, all the stores were filled. And when I got to the mall to go to the baseball card store, it looked like the whole mall was closed. There were maybe a half dozen cars right near the entrance to the mall. And so I just sat there, and finally someone came out and got into one of the cars in the parking spot and drove off. So I got out of my car, and sure enough, the mall was open, but it was empty. One of the anchor stores was Target, and that's still there. There were a few people in it, and I couldn't even tell the other side's anchor store. It was been closed, and I couldn't figure out who it used to be, but probably more than 90% of the stores in the mall were closed and empty. This baseball card shop happened to be right near Target, so you probably get some draw from the folks going to Target, but otherwise the mall was empty. And as I expected, when I walk in, it was probably 50% Pokemon and 40% shiny basketball cards. Neither I don't care about. On the far corner and back, there were two cases of baseball cards. One had vintage cards, but vintage, I mean 1970s and late 1960 cards. That was his vintage collection. And another case had signed baseball cards. Most of them were shiny new cards that were signed, way overpriced. But he did have this 2000 Fleer card signed. So I talked them down a bit, and it was more reasonable, so I bought it. I think this is a cool image, and the signature is placed perfectly, a Bob Feller. And that's the back. So I picked this up at the baseball card store in the almost dead mall. And he did have a box of dollar cards. They were all new cards. But I did pick up this one just because I love the photograph of Starlin Marte. I'm not a Starlin Marte collector, but I just love this photograph. This is a Topps Stadium Club card. Looks like from 2023. But that's a beautiful image. And he actually threw it in for free for me after paying for the Bob Feller at a very reasonable price. So maybe he needed the business as much as he could. So that's what I got. The final installment of not going to the national pickups. I actually did not show any tobacco cards on Tobacco Card Tuesday, but I did show some cards made in the same era as the tobacco cards, so that counts. So I want to wish everyone out there a terrific Tobacco Card Tuesday.